Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Russo. I'm your host, Ashley Russo, and I'm being joined by someone very special today, Mike Mittman. He has been my co-host, my friend, my partner in crime all over the Valley for the last 10 years on the Peak TV. So Mike, thanks for joining me.
Great to be with you as always, even if you're there and I'm here, we're usually together. We have been together for so many years, as you mentioned, I guess 10 years plus on the Peak. You and I have been through everything. We've crash landed, zip lining. We've been in the bottom of the earth and going through caves. We've done a lot of different things. But
how about when we went to that farm and we fed the goats?
We did that as well. We did a lot of crazy, wild stuff, but at least I can be with you this way.
I know. Well, I appreciate it. It's long overdue. I feel like we've had so many conversations over the years and wanted to make sure that our listeners got the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you, Mike. You have had such an illustrious, amazing career and amazing life. So let's take people back to the beginning. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up and kind of what was your family structure?
I am a rarity. I am a born and raised Allentown, Pennsylvania guy. I was born here, raised here, grew up here, graduated from William Allen High School, and I never really left. I went away to Widener University, which wasn't far in Chester, for 4 years, and then I came back, and I've had the pleasure of announcing all over the nation and outside all over the world, but I always couldn't wait to come back to Allentown, Pennsylvania. Yeah, LA was great. Vegas was great. They were all great, but couldn't wait to
This is your home. This is your home. And
home, yeah.
What kind of kid were you, Mike? Like when you were 6 or 7, what were you into? Did you play sports? Did you play music? Did you go out and play stickball? Like what was your time at that young age like?
I was into sports a little bit. My mom was the athlete in the family. She was a runner-up for the United States Olympic track and field team. I got some of those genes, but not all of them.
What a cool, wait, that's pretty interesting about your mom.
Yeah, it was. And I tried different sports, but I couldn't hold the candle to my mom. She was fast as lightning, believe me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I did some boxing in high school and some boxing in college, and I got the boxing bug. Hence, I got into boxing and announcing fights, afterwards. And when I was a kid, I was always into music. When I was at William Allen, we started a band called the Echoes, and we just performed all over the country, all over the Lehigh Valley area, and it was fun, and that's how I got the music bug.
Mike, what did you do in the band?
I played guitar. I was a lead guitar player, and I sang.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you guys do covers, or did you have original, or a combination?
No, we were a cover band. We did the Beatles. How can you go wrong? With the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, a couple of Beach Boys tunes, that kind of thing. So we had a lot of good material, to pick from. How
much fun. I love that. Look at you. Did you have any groupies?
Yeah, I think we did. Back in the day, we did. Yeah, we had a pretty good.
This is like true confessions with Mike Mittman. I love it.
It is, yeah.
Now, what about school, Mike? I mean, were you into school? Did you hate school? Was there a subject you excelled at?
I liked school, but only what I liked. They wanted to stick with math and geometry and history and all that, and didn't like that. But if it came to anything, English, public speaking, I had a great teacher back in the day by the name of Mr. O'Donnell that got me into public speaking. And I said, hey, this is cool. I want to do this. Plus, I used to listen to the radio all the time. Back in the day, number one station was WAEB. And I listened to all the jocks on the air. And I said, I want to do that. I can do that. And that's
so when you thought about that, you think about the culmination of the concept that you loved music and you have this amazing voice. So was it early on that people started recognize that you had this sort of broadcaster announcer type voice, or did you develop that?
Very early on, they said, "Wow, yeah, you can probably do this." But then I worked at it. It's like everything else. Like a boxer's got to work on his left hook or his right cross. A runner's got to work on their timing. I worked on everything. Uh, so then I went away to college, and I asked if they had a college radio station, and I thought they did. And they said, "No, we no longer have one." So they said, "Why don't you start one?" So I did everything. I hit the alumni up. I went out in the community. I did all the fundraising. I raised something like $150,000, which is that at that time was
I
like
say
a
that's like a
million and
couple
a half.
million today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1.5, 2 million. And we bought all, and then I made a very close contact with an advisor at WFIL Radio, one of the chief engineers, which was the #1 station in the nation at that time. And we worked a deal that we could get a lot of their used equipment and brought it to the college radio station. And it opened the door for me to get in later on part-time and work at the #1 station, WFIL Radio in Philadelphia. So then I came back.
Well, hold on, Mike. I want to pause on that for a second because
Okay.
I think that's really significant. You know, it's one thing. I went to college and went to the radio station, and it was well established, and there was a system, and there were jobs, and there was equipment, and it was a blast, and I learned a ton, but not quite the same as starting it yourself. And that's like a very industrious thing to do and very entrepreneurial. I mean, through that process between the money raising, making connections to get the equipment, what are some lessons that you learned that you sort of took with you as your career evolved?
I learned that if you really want to do something, it's not going to be put on your doorstep. You can do it, but it takes hard work. And I was going to tell you later on when I graduated and I wanted to move on and still do radio, but go into TV, they said, "You'll never do that. Nah, TV is too competitive. No openings. You'll never do that." And I learned that you don't listen to anybody. If you have a goal, you have a dream, you have your sights, and this goes for every kid watching today. You're going to be told 1,000,000 times, you'll never do it. All the athletes will tell you, you'll never do it. You don't listen to them. You just work 3 times harder, and you can do anything in life that you want to do. But are you willing to do the work for it? And if you're willing to work hard, you may get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down 100 times. But the important thing is you're going to get up and keep working for your goal, whatever that may be.
Well, Mike, that is an awesome life lesson. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but then on that, I want to expand and talk about your career and how you really put that hard work to the test to get what you wanted and to achieve your goals. So you're listening to Unscripted with Russo. We'll be right back. Any time of year, the Lehigh Valley is an exceptional place for food, drink, and entertainment. Whether you're cooling off from the summer heat at Dutch Springs or shopping for just the right kind of gift at Chris Kindle Market, you will make memories all year round. For more information on what the Lehigh Valley has to offer, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ashley Russo, and this is Unscripted with Russo with my dear friend, my co-host on the Peak TV, Mike Mittman. Mike, it's been so awesome learning a little bit more about you. I mean, I feel like we've spent a lot of time talking, and yet I'm learning that you were in a band and you had groupies and you're an Allentonian through and through. And we were just starting to talk about your broadcasting career. So starting the radio station in college, building some connections. Tell me about your first couple of jobs and what did they entail? And I ask this question because I find myself kind of at a stage now where when I'm talking to young adults, when I'm talking to my children who are young adults, the idea is they see you at the stage you're at and people forget that you started somewhere. You know, I remember running around NBC looking for tape, like the tape library, which of course kids today, they don't even know what we're talking about. They're just digital files flying through the air. I used to come back with my arms
Tape,
filled with
what is
tape.
that? What is that?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So tell me about a couple of your first early jobs and sort of what did they entail? Like, what did you do day to day?
Well, when I was working at college, my first offer on radio was working at a station right near the school, WBZH in Chester. And they had an opening on a Sunday night. And I went in and I applied for that. And the guy said, wow, we'd love to have you. And I said, great. And I thought this was the beginning to fame and riches. And I said, by the way, you mind if I ask you, what is the starting salary? Yeah, I can tell you, $5.25 an hour. And oh my, I thought he was going to offer me, 100 grand a year to start. It didn't work like that. But it was a start, and you got to start somewhere. And it was a great start. I was a kid, I was 18 years old. And the selling point that he used to get me was the guy that did that Sunday night show was a guy by the name of Bill Haley from Bill Haley and the Comets.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but he left the show to go on tour. The oldies were getting hot, and he left the show to go back, traveled around the world with the Comets. So they had the opening. So I took the opening, and it was a good opening for me. It was
huge opportunity. And when you think about those early days, how important was it for you to just say yes and sort of just jump in, not necessarily knowing what the job would entail or what would come of it? Did saying yes serve you well?
It did. It really did. It's funny you say that. It was always yes, 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 yes. And unfortunately, even today, people call me up from all over the country to do this, to do that. Can you? And I still have that yes mentality. Sometimes you have to say no because I'm already doing this and that. But I still say yes. And you're right. That's from the early days, that yes mentality. You never say no. You never turn down anything because you never know what's going to hit.
I tend to agree. And I think it's amazing sometimes when you open yourself up to a possibility, you really don't know. Maybe it's not even the opportunity you thought it would be, but there's a person or a contact you make through the experience that leads to something else. And that's always fascinated me, how your life can kind of ebb and flow when you're open to opportunity.
Ashley, I couldn't have said it any better. And the people that I've worked with, in radio and television, especially, in the region and the East Coast, well, they've all moved on. They're all different parts of the country right now. That's why I get calls from California, from Florida, from Arizona. Oh, this would be perfect for Mike Mittman. I worked with Mike back in the day, and this would be good for him. And that's how I get the calls, because of what you just said.
Yeah, and that concept that you're always building your network. I mean, I think that's another sort of important life career lesson, right?
Yes.
Like, you never know who you meet. I don't know. I've met people at the nail shop that I find myself doing a business with 6 months later because our paths crossed. And you're like, wait a second, I sat next to you getting a pedicure.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's amazing. How did you make the transition from radio and being really a DJ on the radio to broadcasting? What was that transitional moment and opportunity?
It wasn't easy. And again, that's where a lot of people said, you'll never do it. And I want to tell you a funny story about, I call it the hats. And to this day, people always kid me about switching hats. When I got back from Widener University, and the radio was not really cooking at that point. It was starting to slow down. So I wanted to get into television. And I thought what I wanted to do more than anything in the world, because I'd always been into boxing. So I had the degree in broadcasting, but I wanted to do boxing. I knew boxing. Probably better than any of the commentators at the time, because I was involved in it. And I approached a lot of different people. Nobody wanted to bite. I could have given up, but then I knocked on the door of what was the very first cable network in the entire nation, Service Electric, the Service Electric Cable TV network. And they said, wow, we would love to do a boxing show. And thanks to Service Electric, I did a boxing show. It was Mike Mittman's In This Corner. And it just took off from there. And then I got offers. My other passion was professional wrestling, and I was involved in professional wrestling. So I started to announce professional wrestling, and I had the great pleasure working with everybody from Hulk Hogan to Andre the Giant to Macho Man Randy Savage and the Road Warrior. So I had 3 different hats. One was music, one was boxing, one was pro wrestling, and I just kept switching those hats. And to this day, I still do all 3, and I still switch hats.
How exciting has it been for you to see multiple decades of those sports and music change? Like, what does the evolution look like for you? If you were to describe what boxing was like in a certain era versus like the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to today, what kind of changes have you seen? Has it mostly been positive? Are there things that have been lost that you would say it's sort of a disservice that we've lost pieces of the industry?
Well, it's not, nothing is what it was. From my music standpoint, I've had the pleasure of working with the Four Tops, the Temptations, the Beach Boys. I've worked with the Stones one time. I brought them on stage, and then boxing wise, I've worked with, of course, and I still work with one of the greatest heavyweight champions,
our buddy Larry Holmes.
You know very well. Larry Holmes, the Eastern Assassin. We do the show on the SE network. What the heck were they thinking? And we've been doing that for 12 years. And I've worked with Muhammad Ali, with George Foreman, with Mike Tyson. I've announced with Mike Tyson in the region. I've announced with him out in LA. I've worked on the wrestling side, as I mentioned, with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Today, boxing is not what it was. There are no Larry Holmeses. There are no Muhammad Ali's. There are no George Foremans. But there's still some exciting fights. Is it what it was? No. Is music what it was? In my opinion, no.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, but you have to know you is to love you, Mike. And so I think you have such a warm way about you. You make everyone that you interact with feel special. I know that everyone on the ASR Media team always loves spending time with you and appreciates how kind you are, and that you are a consummate professional, but you really are just kind. But you've had the opportunity to do so many cool things, right? From LA to Vegas to New York to Philly. And yet you keep coming back to the Lehigh Valley. You've got your show with Larry, you've got your show with us, you've got your new radio gig. What is the secret sauce in all of that? What is the key to your success, but remaining humble in the midst of all of this greatness along the way?
You have to. I've worked with so many other announcers over the years, and I'll never forget the way that some of the announcers would treat, the cameramen, the camera women, even some of the directors and the lighting people, the audio people. And I thought, this is wrong. It's a team, just like the great team at ASR Media. Everybody's a team. Just because I happen to be in front of the camera, I'm no better than anybody else on that show. Matter of fact, it's the camera people that make me look good. It's the audio people that make me sound good. If you're not nice to them, look out. And I've always tried to be great and kind to everybody, because it's not just me. It's not just the person in front of the camera. It's the entire team, and it's a team effort. And I've tried to treat everybody I work with kindness, with the respect, and
Well, you've certainly achieved it, Mike. I can tell you that just having had the pleasure of working with you, you certainly have. And to see your rapport with the younger people who are learning our craft, is so exciting and so nice. I think of the early days when Dylan started, and Dylan Sweeney is an amazing member of our team. And, he's our director of photography now. And you two had such a funny rapport on set. You always had jokes about audio and camera and things like that. And I think he respects you so much because you took the time to do that. And it's a great life lesson for whatever your job is.
It is, and I try to share the knowledge that I have with people that are just coming up in the business, and with Dylan, a great guy, and it makes the time go faster when you can joke and tell some stories, and we always have a great time, and I've always had a great time, as have you, doing the Peak. It's a fun show to do.
It is a fun show to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to talk all about your love of the Lehigh Valley, some of your favorite things, and what you're doing right now, because listen, no grass grows under you, Mike. You keep moving. You always got a new gig coming up. So we want to talk about that. Everybody stick with us. You'll want to hear more from Mike Mittman when we get back with Unscripted with Russo. Ever wonder what you get when you combine an historical riverside city, high-end dining, entertainment venues, and craft distilleries? The city of Easton, of course. One of my favorite spots is the Easton Public Market, right in the center of it all. But there's a variety of places to choose. Whether you're looking for a park to unwind or a night out with friends, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website to find all the hot spots in Easton. Visit their website at discoverlehighvalley.com for more information. Welcome back to Unscripted, everybody. I'm Ashley Russo. So happy that you're joining us. You will not want to miss this next part of my interview with my fabulous co-host at the Peak TV, Mike Mittman. Mike, thank you so much for being here and telling us more about your life. We could probably talk for an entire day and not get through everything that you've accomplished. But the one thing that remains is not only, as we were speaking earlier, your humility and your kindness to everyone you meet, and your tenacity. You are tenacious, and you made things happen, and you continue to do so even at this point in your career. And you've got some exciting stuff going on right here in the Lehigh Valley. So let's talk a little bit about your new radio gig. I mean, it's sort of funny to say you've kind of always had a radio gig, but here you are with something new, and that's exciting. So tell us about it.
There was such a need for this in the Lehigh Valley Plus region, and it's with iHeartRadio, which is, you don't get any better than iHeartRadio, and the brand new Real Oldies 1470. We call it Motown, soul, and rock and roll. We're the only ones doing it, and the greatest hits of the 60s and the 70s. And right now, the hottest thing in the entire country is all those great 70s disco hits with Donna Summer and Barry White and the Bee Gees. And we're the only one doing it. And I have to say, big thank you for bringing the music back to St. Luke's University Health Network and all the thousands upon thousands of listeners every day to thank their St. Luke's. I always say, go to your St. Luke's doctor, give him or her a big hug and say, thanks for bringing the music back. And the timing couldn't be better. We just brought back the oldies bigger and better than ever. And right now, with Elvis Mania, with the new Elvis movie hitting the nation, was #1 at the box office. And they're introducing Elvis to a whole new generation. You'll see kids 7, 8, 9 years old walking around singing all the Elvis songs. And how cool is it that we are the only station within probably 80 miles from here playing the hits of Elvis?
It is so awesome. And it's incredible to see, that whole, everything old is new again. My daughter is 17, almost 18, on her way to college. And she has, I think, as you know, Mike, my husband loves music. He plays drums and guitar, very self-taught. He would probably kill me for sharing that because he doesn't think he's that good, but I think he's great. And they share this love of music. And so my daughter put together a playlist on her phone. It's 13 hours long, and it's called Family Fun. And it is music from the 40s to today. Now, how this child figured out what the hits were from every decade and every genre is amazing, but they love the oldies. And it's one of those things where, you get together at a family gathering, you've got all the generations. What's the one thing everybody enjoys that, every person, it's the oldies. Everybody enjoys it.
And we say we play the hits that you can sing along to. Everybody knows the words. We got an absolutely incredible team, starting with Craig Stevens in the morning from 5 till 9. And of course, I do afternoons from 3 p.m. till 7. And we got it all. And Saturday nights, we have what was the #1 radio show of all time, the #1 '70s show with all the great '70s hit, the late, great Casey Kasem. And we have Saturday nights, Casey doing all the great '70s hits. So it's like Get Down Tonight every Saturday night.
That's so cool. I love it. What are you enjoying the most about this, Mike? I mean, I know you've done a whole bunch of different things. Life has taken you on a curvy, windy, fun path. But I always feel like when I hear you talk about the music, you just have such a passion for it. So what are you enjoying most?
I love the music. And what do I love that we played the most? Yeah, I even love the great doo-wop songs that we do. We do a lot of great doo-wop songs. It's unbelievable. The great '60s songs from the Beatles to the Beach Boys to Leslie Gore. And of course, as I said, the hottest thing right now, and I know probably your son and daughter are loving it, the KC and the Sunshine Band, all the great Bee Gees songs, Barry White, all the disco hits. We do it, and we're doing that exclusively, and everybody's loving it. And we have kids listening 12, 13, 14 years old. I think we have it all.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so happy for you. It's really great. People need to tune in. It's, you can get good entertainment, you can hear Mike, and you can listen to some great music all at the same time. So we're thrilled about that. And it's great for the Lehigh Valley, which is, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the Lehigh Valley. You mentioned you are one of those people who was born and raised in Allentown. You've come back to Allentown, raised your own family, or your son, many people might know your son, Steve Mittman. He's on the morning news at WFMZ, and he's a DJ does very well in this same field, followed in your footsteps, and a dear friend of ours as well. So that must be exciting for you to see him kind of continuing your legacy and growing it in a whole different way.
It is, and I get up and watch him every morning on the WFMZ News at sunrise, along with another young lady that you know, and another Russo.
Another Russo. We're everywhere.
Russo.
Mittmans and Russos. There's something.
Russos. You can't get away from it, right?
I love it. That's great. So, as someone who's been here your whole life, tell me about a couple of your favorite things to do in the Lehigh Valley. Like, is there something that you love to go do with your family, with your grandkids, with a friend that is something you want people to know about?
There's so many great things to do in the Lehigh Valley. Of course, you got the famous Lehigh Valley Zoo, which is a great thing to do. The Crayola Factory, you and I've been there doing pieces, doing stories many, many times for the peak.
Sadly, neither of us were very good at any of the Crayola. We needed the kids. The kids did great art, but I don't know that that's our strength, Mike.
Can't touch those kids. Let me tell you, I just sat there and I can't compete with that.
No, exactly.
But that's fun. Of course, you got the Iron Pigs, and there's just so much to do in the Lehigh Valley. In the old days when I was growing up here, the big family fun day, my mom used to pack me up, my brother, and we'd go down to Hess's, and that would be the fun thing to do.
No, that's a thing I miss that you hear people who grew up here talk about. And I guess they had a famous dessert, something with strawberries
my world famous strawberry pie. And then what Max Hess would do is, when he had everybody, movie stars, television stars, sports stars, and he would bring them into the store and give them a strawberry pie to take home with them. And it was incredible. For all you baseball fans, I remember announcing a press conference that they had at Hess's in the patio restaurant, and the great Willie Mays was there.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to interview Willie Mays for the press conference, and Willie took home a big strawberry pie with him.
See, now that's a pretty cool thing to have been a part of here right in Allentown. What about restaurants? Like, there's a place do you have a go-to? Do you have a hangout that you like to go, to get a meal?
There's a lot of great places, there's so many great places here. You don't have to try the same place.
I know, it's funny you say that because I was thinking about the idea, Joe and I were just talking the other day saying we have so many great restaurants
We're
here.
lucky.
It's unbelievable. And you find your favorites and then you go back to them, but you think, gosh, like, shouldn't we try something else? Like that we need to, and you have to keep kind of expanding where you go. But there's like, if there's a place where you don't have to think about it, like that you would just go and enjoy, is there any place?
Yeah, I like Italian food, as do you and Joe. And one of my favorite places, Villa Lentini restaurant. It's all official Italian.
I've never been there, Mike.
Yeah, it's in Whitehall in Egypt, and Villa. It used to be the old Ballietsville Inn, the village of Ballietsville, I guess you would actually call it.
Is it a BYOB? Like you bring
no,
your own wine and
they have a bar there.
oh, they have a
and I
bar.
always
Okay.
like it.
Just getting my priorities in order for my meal.
It's great, and the patio. They have the vineyards, the vines over the patio, just like in Italy. So I love it there.
Yeah. So what do you think makes the Lehigh Valley so unique and special? Because having moved here and not growing up here, but raising my children here and loving it here, there's something unique about this area. What is it for you that you think resonates and why people not only often stay, but come back?
Why? Because it's small town, yet it's big town. It's got small town way of life, but yet it's big town. And what I always appreciate, and I think a lot of people appreciate, even now, maybe more than ever, we're here, but I worked a lot in Philly. I was broadcasting NBC Philly Fight Night on the NBC Sports Channel, and I'm in Philly in an hour and 10 minutes. New York, a little bit longer, an hour and a half or whatever. So you're close to Philly, you're close to New York, and
yeah, it's convenient. I mean, it's convenient. It is. You're right. That's the feel. You feel like you're kind of in a small town in the country. People do know each other. There's a great sense of community here, but we do have access, right? We have a lot of access to great stuff. Plus the beaches, the mountains,
it's all here.
Far away.
And I remember announcing a fight in LA one time for national television. And one of the directors said, "Where are you from?" "From Allentown, Pennsylvania." And he goes, "Well, how are you working, in LA? And how do you work in Vegas?" And I said, "Well, they have something new now. It's called airplanes. You can live anywhere you want. I live 5 minutes from the airport, and you get on the plane. It doesn't matter where you live."
That's awesome. And now look at us. Now we've got Zoom and all kinds of ways to work remotely and be connected. So I love that. Well, the Lehigh Valley, you are a Lehigh Valley legend, Mike, and we're so honored to have you on the podcast and also to have you as a part of the Peak TV. And like we mentioned, made so many memories together. I remember when the show started, people used to say to us, I don't know if you remember this, "Are there really enough stories?"
Yes, I do remember that.
To have a
run out of
show. And here we are. And I mean, I feel like I don't have room for all the stories. There's so many stories. So
a lot happening.
Says a lot about our region. Well, before I let you go, we've had a great conversation here and I appreciate everything you've shared. We do a little thing called rapid fire questions. I want to confirm with the audience that you were not made aware of these in advance.
No, I didn't even know we were going to do this.
All right. See, we got a little sneak one on in here. All right. You ready?
Okay.
What is your favorite hobby or a secret talent that you have?
My favorite hobby, secret talent, it's no secret. My hobbies are my work, actually. They're all in one. Music, boxing, pro wrestling, that's all what I do, and it's my work. So I'm one of the lucky people in life. That old saying, if you do what you love, you never worked a day in your life. Well, it's true. I took my hobbies and I made them my work. So that's what I enjoy.
Amazing, Mike. That's the goal, right? That's the goal and the dream. I love it. All right. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice, don't give up. Keep, as we say in the boxing game, keep punching, never give up. And if you fall down, get up and go back and start throwing more punches.
All right. Which actor would you cast to play you in a movie about your life? What actor would play you?
I don't know. Tom Cruise would be okay.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Now, that means you got to get some running scenes in. You know, Tom Cruise always has a running scene.
I know.
I guess that's how we could tie in your mom and her running.
Yeah. My mom could coach me.
All right. Now, if you didn't have the job you have now, what would you be doing instead? What would be the alternate universe in your career?
I don't know any other thing other than
You've done it all, and you've done everything you'd wanted to do.
Yeah, I want to do what I do, and I'll keep doing it for the next 20, 25 years. And um, I'll never forget my famous quote. Of course, I've been doing broadcasting live at Music Fest since day one. And after the very first Music Fest, I interviewed Jeff Park on live TV, and I said, "Do you plan to do this again?" Here we are,
37 years later, I think, 37 or 8 years later. Pretty amazing to be a part of that. All right. The last thing I'm going to ask you is name one person who inspires you.
Other than my mom and dad?
Sure.
My mom and dad always inspired me. And again, I go back to that when I was in William Allen High School. My English teacher and taught me public speaking, Mr. Cornelius O'Donnell. He got me the love for public speaking. You know, I never stood in front of a audience before and did that. And he taught me how to look at the audience, how to take command. And I learned so much from him, and I've never forgotten them. I said, this is what I want to do. And now I've announced in front of crowds of 15, 20, 25,000. So it's stuck with
all
me.
from Mr. O'Donnell seeing something in you, believing in you, and supporting you, which you've done and paid that forward many, many times over, Mike. So thank you so much for being a guest, sharing a little bit more about your life. We want to encourage people to tune in iHeartRadio, right? They can listen to your show and tune in and participate. And you've always got something fun going on. So.
And the best ticket giveaways to the biggest and the best oldies concerts within over 100 miles from here. So there's perks to listening to Real Oldies 1470.
All right. Well, we got people tuning in 1470. Win your tickets. Listen to Mike. Get some great music. And it's something you can put on that the whole family can enjoy. And of course, don't forget to tune into the Peak TV WFMZ Monday nights at 6:30. So
never forget that.
Mike and I. All right, Mike. Well, thanks for joining us on Unscripted. Until next time.
Thank you, Ashley.